Hey guys, here I am today. I gotta make a bunch of stumps for my modular layout. It's G scale. Anyway, I gotta make a lot of stumps for that. Trees that have been cut down. This technique could be used for smaller gauges railroads too, but it's real easy, really fast to do. Here's a couple that I've finished up. I got just a little bit more dry brushing to do, but anyway, you can see the examples how they've been cut. They look like they've been sawn with a saw. Anyway, I'm gonna show you how I do that. I go into the woods and find some small trees. Find a small tree. This one's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches across. Now that's a natural hole in it, and that's just from where the core is. I guess it's rotted out anyway. But you can pick out some. Cut them to whatever length you can use. I go on the bandsaw, and I cut it straight across, and then on the top I'll cut it at an angle. You can see that I'll come in from one side and then I'll come in from another. Looks like it's been sewn in two, and you can just do all kinds of cuts that you want, but after you cut it at an angle, you want to recut it straight across and then make your next cut. And you can see how each one of these are cut a little bit different. Once I have them cut out to the size I want, I have some plain styrene sheets on hand, and I go ahead and I glue the piece of wood down to that styrene, and I got all different shapes. You got small ones, large ones, because they're going to cut down different size trees when they're logging. You can just see I've really cut up some of these a lot different. One thing you do need to do before I get ahead of myself, any of the lichen that's on the side, you just need to take a wire brush and just go ahead and clean off anything on that. And you can actually clean it smooth because we're going to cover all that up. Anyway, once we have it all glued down, then we'll move into the paint. I'm in the paint room now. It's kind of messy in here, but what we're going to do is real smelly next. I'm going to get the stuff together and we'll move along, and I'll show you how I make stumps out of these. Okay, here we are getting ready to finish them up. What you need is, I got some Bondo here. This is just from Walmart. It's just like their $12 brand. It's a 2-part Bondo. Anyway, you can get that. Something that I think works a little bit better. It's a little bit more expensive. The 2-part spotting putty. It's a Bondo type product, but it's a little bit creamier. It's a little bit thicker than this. This is kind of thin, a little bit thinner than what I like. But anyway, what you do is you take your tree limb that's been glued down, and you want to trim it off to about a 3/8 inch all the way around, and you get that ready. I generally do one stump at a time because this stuff, when it starts kicking off, it goes pretty fast. So we just take a popsicle stick. We need popsicle sticks on hand, and I also keep these smaller sticks on hand. You can get those at the craft store. Anyway, I just put a little bit on the pallet. I just got a scrap piece of wood, put a little bit on the pallet here, and and you get used to how much you need, and I always have a little bit of waste. So what we're gonna do is get that off, and I usually lay this one off to the side, and I get another one to put the hardener in it. And the hardener, you just need barely any hardener. You see, I just got just a little bit on the tip, and we're just going to mix that in. And you can tell it, well, you may not be able to tell, but it changes color just a little bit. Alright, now what we're going to do is wipe off the excess, and we're going to grab a little bit, and we're just going to do this like you're icing the cake. Just go all the way around, putting a thin layer. And if you get a little bit on the top, it's okay. I'll show you how to get rid of that in a little bit. But anyway, just a real thin layer all the way around. And if there's any imperfections on the piece of wood, you can just cover right over those. Okay, you see I've got it all the way around it. Alright, lay this off the side. We're going to get our other little stick here. And what we're going to do is start picking up some of this Bondo here. We got it on stick, and we're just going to lay it on the side and just pull it down. Okay, it's like one of those roots that's coming off the side of the tree. You just put it up there and just pull it down. Now you can make as many or as few as you want. You know, each tree is going to be different. So you can put 4, you can put 5, 6, how many ever you want on there. And just going to pull them up and leave it. And what we're going to do is, this stuff, you have about a 5-minute work time with it. So we're going to wait a few minutes till it starts kicking off. Now, of course, the bigger stumps are going to have more of these coming off than the smaller ones. And you'll kind of blend them into the stump all the way around. Now, the reason we put them on the styrene is because once this is hardened, we can just pull that styrene off, and you've gotten rid of the base. All right, we'll let that sit just for a second. What I do, I've got just by hand, I get some up here on top. Once it's all done, we'll take it on the 1-inch belt sander and just barely touch that on the top, on each side. It cleans all that off before we get ready to paint. All right, what we're doing is, now we're going to take a X-Acto knife. Now this is an old blade. It's an old knife. You don't have to be sharp. But now we're not going to work where our roots are coming off. We're just going to work in between, and we're going to just make some marks up. You can pull them down either way. And this is in between. Now this is still a little bit thin. It hadn't started to harden yet. And it's just going to simulate your tree bark. You see how that I'd already done this and it filled back in, so we need to let it get a little bit harder first, because once this, like I said, once this stuff starts to kick, it goes pretty fast. And the more hardener you add, the faster it'll kick off too. You don't want it to just boom, all of a sudden be done. So we're going to wait just a second. Actually, I'll show you some of these others. Here's some smaller ones I've done. And once we get them painted, they'll look a lot better. But you can see that I can just pull that base off. Sometimes it leaves a little bit of middle, and we just have to put it on a sander and sand that off. But once we get it painted up, it'll look good. And you can clean off some of this excess and shape those up. Let's see where we're at. Still not thick enough. Pull some of these off. That's not set up enough. Now these need to set about 30 minutes to get nice and hard. These probably done about an hour ago. You see how it plops there. And then we can cut that off or just put that on the belt sander and it'll clean it right off. Alright, it's starting to get a little bit thicker. Alright, now we'll start working with these root sections here. And see, we're just going to pull them and give them some creases in there. And see, it's still not thick enough there. And if it comes off the side, just clean it off. I used to keep a paper towel on my lap to wipe this blade on. But you can see it's starting to thicken. And just pull it both ways. See how thick it has gotten. Now you can clean this off. You want to shape that root, you can clean it off. It's still nice and soft. You can just clean it up and shape it any way you want. Get rid of this excess. And you'll still be able to break some of it off when you get to the very end. But you can see that blade put some nice striations in it. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to let this set up, and I'll do a couple more on my own here, and then I'll show you how I sand these, how I paint them, and get them done. So I'll get to the next part, and we'll be right back. Okay guys, here we are back. I got several of them done. I'll show you what I'm doing here. What you need to do is, after you get all the bondage dried on them, I go out on a 1-inch belt sander. I know you probably know what 1-inch belt sander is. It's go in there and just barely touch the top and clean that off. And you can see where it's actually flattened that a little bit where it had got raised above the surface. So anyway, we got all that cleaned up or you can even use an emery board to clean the top if you want. 1-inch belt sander is a lot faster. Also, if your styrene or whatever you glued to the bottom to keep it from sticking, you just take that on the big 3-inch belt sander I have and just stick it down on it, and it cleans it right off. I had to clean these off on both of these. Anyway, the next thing we do is, once these are dry, it takes about 30 minutes for this to get good and dry, is I go with like the flow quill. It's the paint. I'm using engine black, so you want you a nice black color. And all we're doing is coming in here and we're painting. You want to make sure you get black. You want this thing really black. You want to make sure you get down in all the creases. And I use the flow quill because it's a petroleum-based paint, and I like it'll stick better to that Bondo that's on there. But anyway, I'm coming in here and we're going to dab it and make sure we get down into all the creases. So if you can see this. Now if you do get a little black on the top, it's okay, because once you get done you can go back to the 1-inch belt sander or take your emery board and just clean that top off. But if you just stay careful, because we're going to just barely hit some brown around the edge up here at the top when we're done. So so if you got a little bit of white like that, it's okay. But anyway, but you want to make sure there's nothing showing. All the white or it's a beige color is colored over in the black. So we're going to set this off to the side and let those dry about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to get the rest of these. Yeah, you need to wear some gloves to get it all over you. I'm going to get the rest of these painted, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I finish them up. Okay, we're back. We've got the stumps here, and the black's all painted on them, and it's had time to dry. What we do now is I'm coming back with just plain acrylic paints. These are from, I just got these at Hobby Lobby. One is a brown iron oxide, and you can change whatever colors you want, and this is a cocoa, C-O-C-O-A. And what we're doing is doing a kind of a dry, well, I'm doing is kind of a dry brush, but not totally. Anyway, what I'm doing is just go into the brown. I don't know if you can see this here. Just go into the brown, and now we're leaving this brush a little bit wet. It's not totally dried out, but it's not soaking wet with paint. And what we're doing is just going sideways and just really lightly, a little bit too much, just really lightly going sideways just on the black. And what this does, the black does, it leaves all the crevices the black color, so it looks like it's really dark. Alright, so what we're going to do is just going back and forth. I'm doing it really lightly. Now, a little bit up on top, and didn't mean to, but I hope you can see this. I'm just brushing it sideways on this. And you want to make sure that you just get a light brush all over it. Now, if you got a little bit of the white where the Bondo got up where you can see it on the side there. You just barely want to brush that to get that white off there and just get it back down to a brown color. I need a smaller brush to do this with, but you just want to even that up, make sure it's the brown color, not just a white. But anyway, you can still see black all the way around. I'll do another real quick, maybe you couldn't see that one as well. But anyway, just going to wet our brush, and it's not too wet. Like I said, you can, it's kind of a dry brush, but just a little bit more. Alright, see I'm going sideways against the grain, so it's just catching the top ridges. And I hope you can see that this is turning that a brown color. And the brown oxide, it's a little bit, it looks a little light going on, but once it dries, it gets a nice dark brown. And we're not painting so hard that we, like I said, we get down into crevices or anything. Okay, I got a good even brown all over that. All right, now we're going to set these across the side to dry. And I have a couple here that I had painted. That I had painted before. Now I hope you can see the brown on them. The color lighting in here is horrible. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is the brown oxide on there. We're going to clean our brush out. Not all the way, just going to wipe it off. And we're going over here to the cocoa, which is a lighter brown. And I'm coming here, and this really need to get that brush cleaned out. But we're going to take that lighter color, and we're wetting the brush, and then we're going to brush most of it out. We're going to get it down to a real dry brush. So I've got all of it out, and now we're just really barely highlighting. And this will just touch the very ends of anything sticking out, and it'll highlight it and make it look even better. It'd probably be best if you clean the brush in between. But you can see I'm using a 1/2 inch wide brush here. It's real soft bristles. Anyway, I'm just, and this stuff will dry a little, just a tad darker than it goes on. Not much, but just a, and so this gives you a good highlight. All the way around. Here's one that's had time to dry. Hope you can see it. But anyway, they turn out really well. They look good. Like I said, each stump is unique, just according to how you decide to make them. Now these can just be glued down with regular wood glue, and they will add a lot to your scenery. Oops, I dropped that one. But anyway, that's kind of how I do it. I hope that helps. I got a bunch more to do. I hope the video will kind of help you out, because you start to buy commercial stumps, they get pretty expensive, and I can make these for just for pennies, because I'm getting the wood out of the forest, and I'm getting the bondos. That whole container is $12, and then the paints are just, I've had those laying around. So anyway, I hope the video helps, and y'all have a good day.